friends. Thank you for joining in. This is yours truly, Rockin' Dave, the real deal, North Fort Myers, Southwest Florida, and all that good stuff. Welcome to Jazz Fusion Sunday. That's a track that, believe it or not, I haven't played that in, I want to say, a good number of years. I don't know, maybe about 5, 6 years, maybe something like that. And it's off my Tropical CD, and it's entitled If Only I Knew. And I originally recorded that with the one and only BC Rich Warlock with the synth pickup on there, because I didn't have the Gibson at the time. So, very nice guitar. It has a very, very smooth sound because it's got clean pickups. That's why. And you know what I'm going to do, guys? I think I got to put a little bit more light in here. I hope everybody is well out there. I was on the Great Vanzini's live stream earlier this morning, and he was actually spotlighting a couple of his guitars, and didn't know that he was actually in the Portland, Oregon area. That's where the Breedlove Guitar Company is, and which I do have one of the earlier model passports. And the one I have has got just the letter B on the headstock, which I kind of like that emblem better than, the newer versions. But the new versions are nice. I am also sporting the Joe Wentz Project TV coffee mug and t-shirt. So give a shout out to the Joe Wentz Project. Joe, if you're watching this, when I did my live stream at the music store, was it last Saturday? I played that track in memory of, and I dedicated it to you out there, buddy. But it didn't come out on the video, at least on my live stream. Only like 3 songs or 2 or 3 songs came out, and then that was it. So I don't know what happened. But I'll play it again later on today, and try to keep this. I'll try to keep this live stream within an hour. I do want to see who is in the chat. I want to be. Let's see. We got. Oh, the Wienermeister, Ron Limber is there. Hey, Wienermeister, what's happening, my friend? Rock on. You rightfully earned the title of Wienermeister, a Wiener Switchel, because you love hot dogs. Hey, I'm from Chicago. We had Chicago-style hot dogs. I used to put ketchup on my Chicago-style hot dog. And they used to tell me, Dave, you don't put ketchup on a Chicago-style dog. I said, I'm from Chicago. It's my money. I do what I want. And that would shut them up. And the Great Vanzini, hey, what's happening, brother? I really appreciate you guys tuning in. I really liked your live stream. I have not been as active on some of the streams lately because, we're still doing some of the yard work around the house. And, you have a house, it takes time, So, making things looking nice and everything. And then preparing for some of my upcoming shows. We will be doing live so far. July the 11th, which is on a Saturday, at the same club that I broadcasted my first live show at, with the coronavirus. It's at a place called the Anchor Inn. The guy that owns that place, Paul, he's actually from Wisconsin. And it's kind of like an Irish, Wisconsin type of a bar. And it's really cool. Now, he's got all his, Green Bay Packers stuff up there. And, we're Chicago, so we're Chicago Bears, and how the Bears and the Packers go like this. But down here, everybody's family, man. It doesn't matter what team you root for. Whether it's the Chicago White Sox or the Chicago Cubbies. Go Cubbies. Everyone's family. So, and everyone here on YouTube is family as well. So I want to say a couple more shout outs. But yeah, Great Vanzini, I really did like your live stream. And, it's interesting you mentioned about Melvin Taylor. Melvin Taylor and the Slack Band. Great blues guitarist. And he used to only primarily play at Rosa's Club, and Rosa's is a blues bar that was on Armitage Avenue. I think it's still on Armitage, because my friend Andy used to live off of Armitage and Honorary, and we get together and we go down and we'd see Melvin Taylor, and I can't remember if we did see him play now. Maybe it was another guy, but I do know Melvin Taylor was the guy that was mostly playing at that place. He was like the headliner of Rosa's. And then I remember, I think this was somewhere in the 80s or early 90s or something like that, where Rosas got shut down and people were making a claim that there was drug deals going on there. I don't think so. I honestly don't think so. I just think people were trying to run her out because she seemed like a very nice lady who just wanted to have a place for her son and for the local musicians to play. She was not into trying to do anything illegal. But thank God she got her license back, reopened, and is going stronger than ever. And God bless you, Rosa, for doing that. And the whole staff at Rosa's in Chicago on Armitage Avenue. I'm pretty sure it was between Western and Damon. I could be wrong. It's been a long time, you know. But yeah, we had a lot of great blues and great jazz scene in Chicago. Let's see. We got Why Not. Love that name. It's a perfect name. Why Not? You know. At first, I was trying to pronounce it as not. You know, it's maybe a European name, but no, it's just Why Not. Why? Why not? So I really appreciate you tuning in. Cheryl, thank you so much for tuning in. I really knock anybody home. Yeah, we are home. Thank you for tuning in. I appreciate it. Janice Lala, thank you so much. Really appreciate it. Yeah. Let's see. I'll try to catch up on some live. But yeah, welcome to what I call every other Sunday I do this Jazz Fusion Sundays. I try to bring some more newer pieces of music. In the future, maybe I'll see if I could spotlight, knowing bands in the genre of jazz fusion. But the thing is, with all the copyright claims and copyright infringements, it's a different world we live in, and it is what it is. I'm gonna see if I can move my pedal board down here a little bit. And yeah, I just posted up, and it was kind of a long video, and I apologize about that. With a demo on the Boss SY1 synthesizer pedal, and I was running it through the Zoom Q8 camera. That camera you could go directly in, plus you can mix the microphone. And what I didn't do, I did not mix the microphone on top, so my voice is kind of like in the background. So I apologize about that. But see, the thing is, with some of this gear that's not really super expensive, you're gonna notice, if maybe you haven't already, but take a notice at this. You'll record something in and it looks like your levels are peaking, but then when you go to do the playback, they're not really peaking that much. They're almost like, okay, for instance, this would be your peak, and as you're recording, it looks like it's hitting like this, but in reality, when you do the playback, it's more like down here with this extra headroom. At least that's what I've started to notice with some of the stuff. But you just learn how. It's a learning curve, like anything else. Okay, so I'm going to play another track off that same CD, which is called Tropical. And again, that name of that track is called If Only I Knew. And again, I haven't played it in a while. It's interesting, your own stuff, sometimes you forget how to play. Go figure. Okay, so this next track here is going to be another track that's off of that same CD. And this is called Lakefront. And the reason why I titled this Lakefront is back in the day, in the early 80s, me and my best guitar buddies, Andy and Angel and Yvonne, we'd go by Addison Rocks in Chicago. So if you just go right down Addison Street or Irving Park Road, the reason why it was called Addison Rocks is what they did is they did this quite a while back along Lakeshore Drive and along Lake Michigan there. There's these rocks that you could kind of go down, so like here's a walkway and you could go down these, like just big like cobble rocks. You could walk down. Well, people were jumping in the lake there, and sometimes they'd get drunk and some of these people were drowned. So there was issues and there would be vandalism. So what they did is they took a whole pile of big boulders and just filled in an area that would try to deter people from going down on the last couple of steps to jump into the lake and swim and all that. But what we used to do is have massive jam sessions down there. And if anyone's been in the Chicagoland area, you go by Addison Rocks, it's the park there that has, or used to have, the big totem pole. And there's a big park there, and you can just, walk right up to the lake and just sit there. And this is what we used to have at jam sessions. So this type of a jam reminds me of that. So this is why I entitled it Lakefront. So with any further ado, I hope you all enjoy it. Here we go. Lakefront. Thank you so much, guys. Thank you. Let's see who else is in the chat and who is talking. I know what you mean. I have a lot going on at home. Yeah. Hey, it happens. Joe, what is happening, brother? Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you so much. Stay safe out on the road there. And let's see. I think I'm going to do this. Looks like we got Quentin James. What is happening out there, brother? What is happening? So, this one right here, I'm going to give a little dedication to the Joe Wentz Project here. And I think some of you know that he did lose, his father passed away last Tuesday. And I did do a dedication to you, Joe, at the gig, but if someone has it recorded. I don't know where it's at, but it didn't come out on my phone. So we'll go ahead and do this for you. This right here is entitled "In Memory of." Okay, here we go. 1, 2, 3, go. All right, my friends, Joe, that's dedicated to you, brother. And all our thoughts and prayers are with you. So let us see what is happening out here. So yeah, again, we really appreciate everyone tuning in. Again, this is I try to do things slightly different with this type of a gig because um, this is a style of music that I'm extremely passionate playing because this takes me back to the days after I graduated high school, and me and my best guitar buddies would get together and we would play stuff like this. And actually, that was in the summer of 1981, and that's what helped. That's when I started really developing my picking technique, and just the whole world. It just opened up for me, a different style of music. I still love playing rock and metal and going wild and all that, but for this particular genre style music, I just really have a passion for it. And again, it takes me back to the days back in Chicago, with our blues and our jazz clubs. And I used to go to the blues fest and the jazz fest. And I want to give another shout out to a great blues guitarist that's still in Chicago, Gypsy Electric Gypsy Blues. And go check out his channel and support him. He's a great guy, great blues. He is a blues rock guitarist, and he is a real Chicago guy, real Chicago blues. He is what I would consider the next generation of Chicago blues. I don't know how old he is, but that's not my business. I still think he's a great guitarist. And I want to also give another shout out to another one of our YouTube friends, Old Man Dan. I saw one of his videos earlier, and he was just doing something really nice, like ambient blues pentatonic playing, but very, very emotional with a lot of dynamics. And a lot of the stuff, it's his stuff. That's what I like. And I like his new title. It's the Old Man Dan Show. I think that's cool. I really dig that. And of course, we have our good buddy Joe Wentz from the Joe Wentz Project. Great guitarist, man. Check out his channel. He rocks, man. He's a very big inspiration of mine. And what can I say? Great friend, great guitar player, and a great inspiration. Joe, thank you. You totally rock, man. And I do want to appreciate all my subscribers. Like I said, I think I'm up to um, a little over 1,500. Yeah, it's a little over 1,500. And I really, really appreciate that. And that was, at least my goal was to get over 1,000, so I go back and doing live streaming on my phone. And wow, I'm so grateful. Very, very grateful. Really appreciate it. And I appreciate all you guys tuning in. Janice Lala, the great Fanzini, all you guys. You guys totally rock. The Dog Paw, what's happening out there. And anyone else I might have missed, I really apologize. Sometimes I get plain and you know how it is. I try. And Cheryl, thank you so much. Wonder what, Ron, when, let's see, Wieners, our Wiener Switchel guy, Ron, I'll be glad when you put up that video of that Washburn, because he's got a very, very rare Washburn guitar out there. I remember back in the day. And let's see. Oh, Ian, what's happening, buddy? Really appreciate you tuning in, man. Thanks, Joe. I really appreciate it. I love the way you sound that you get out of that Zoom pedal. And that might be another one that's going to be on my bucket list because it's small. It'll run on batteries if I need it. You get a killer sound out of it. And I'm going to share something with you guys. Even though that it is plastic, it's how you don't want to just hurry up and just step and pounce on some of this stuff. But I'm going to tell you something. When you do outdoor gigs down here in the middle of the summer, that sun feels like it's like right on top of you. And when I did that outdoor gig last Saturday, my pedal board, when I was done playing, I only did like maybe an hour set, if that, maybe 45 minutes. My pedal board, especially my Digitech, because it's black and it's metal, it got so hot, man. Oh, nothing happened to it, but it was just so hot. So when I brought it in, I had to let it cool down. Something with the plastic, it might not retain that heat so much. So, and because it's a real thick, almost like a military grade plastic, it's a pedal, so they know you're going to be stepping on it. So I might get one of those for situations when I'm outside, dial in the sounds they get out of this Digitech. What I do like with the Digitech, it's got one nice big screen that I could see. And all these other newer effect units, I think they're great. But if I had to go the route of these newer ones that's out there, right now, I think I would go with that Boss GT 1000 because, first of all, the screen is huge and it's backlit, so you could see it when the sun is hitting it. And I'm very familiar with the layout of Boss effects. And, honestly, I saw a video of Nina Strauss. If anyone knows who Nina Strauss is, I believe she is a distant relative to Johann Strauss. If I'm not mistaken, I think she is a descendant of one of the great classical composers. But anyways, I think this is Premier Guitars. It was a video that was shot like maybe 11 months ago or something like that, where she's spotlighting her fly rig. And the guy from Premier Guitars says, "Wow, this is so much different than when you did the tour with Alice Cooper. She had all this gear, all these Marshalls and all these amps." And she was saying, "Yeah." She's saying, "But for this gig, for her tour with her band, I think her drummer, the drummer is her husband, I think." Anyways, it's an easy setup. So she's not using any amplification. She's going right from the Boss GT 1000 into the house system. And what she said about the GT 1000, she says, with the Boss products, and if you notice, even with the Katana amps, it doesn't say this is supposed to sound like a Marshall, this is supposed to sound like a Mesa Boogie, or this. It'll have, on the Katana, one patch that'll say like brown, and we know that's supposed to be like the Eddie Van Halen sound. But I think what Boss is doing, they're not trying to mimic every single amp that's been out there. They're really leaving it up to the musicians, up to the guitarists to be creative again and for you to create your sound. And what Nina Strauss said, she's not into any of that. Well, I think I'm going to try to make it sound like a Marshall Plexi, or I'm going to make it sound like a Marshall Master Volume, or a JCM 800, or a Mesa Boogie. She said, if it sounds good, it sounds good. That's the sound. And, for many years, a lot of us older musicians who were playing back in the 70s and the 80s, we didn't have modeling amps. If you couldn't afford the Marshall or the Boogie, you went with the Fender. If you couldn't afford that, it was the Peavey. So you had to pull your sound. What kind of sound do you hear in your ears? And yeah, we would try to mimic to our favorite artists. But I miss those days when amplifiers were their own amp. They were not trying to be everything to everybody. You know what I mean? And I hope that comes back again very strongly. And it just might, because I think the Boss Katana series and Boss GT 1000 have brought back the days where we're not going to try to sound like a Marshall. We're Boss. We're Roland. This is what we sound like. And you pull your sound out of our product. Those are the days I miss, because, again, it leaves the musician in the driver's seat of being creative. You know what I mean? And on the, for instance, on this RP 360 XP, this type of a sound I have. Let me turn the harmonizer off. People might say, "Oh, that might sound like a Marshall or this or that." The actual patch in there, when you go into its amp sim, it's like a blues amp, blues driver. It doesn't even say Fender or anything like that. And I always get in and I tweak it to get it sound good for what I like. For metal, for certain types of metal, if I'm trying to go for that really oversaturated sound, yeah, I'll scoop the mids and do that. But other than that, that's about as much gain as I really want, because I like, when I'm soloing, I like to hear the notes. Now, if I would have scooped those mids, all that would be lost, like in muddiness. So I like the notes to really pop out, especially if you do any type of speed burst. I want the notes to really, the notes to pop out. And an old trick we used to do, when we found out about effect loops and all that, it took a little while, but this was back in like 1984, 1985 with the Peavey Special 130. I remember I had a Boss GE7 graphic equalizer pedal. You know, that cream color pedal. And it would have its 7-band, sliders, and then the 8 slider was a volume. So I would kind of set the EQ to what I thought I liked, and then I would boost up the level, so that would be my booster pedal. And it was cool, but I think what happened one day, by mistake, as I was messing around with different sounds, I accidentally boosted all my mids, and I forgot to bring the level up. So the level on the EQ pedal was just right at its like 0 response level, right in the middle. And I remember playing, and when I hit on that pedal, because I boosted my mids, it wasn't so much that I was louder than everybody else. It's just that all my notes, man, they just cut right through that mix. And ever since then, I'm like, holy crap, that's what I've been looking for, my overdriven sound. Now the thing is, I'm running this into the Roland BA330 powered PA speaker. It is not a guitar amp. And I got my output setting on the Digitakt. You could either do mixer or amplifier. I have it set for mixer. Now let me go down to another patch here where I got more of like would be considered a Fender type of a sound. So is my Fender clean sound. And my distortion is really just an overdrive. So for certain things, jazz oriented or blues oriented or anything like that, or just very melodic, that's a good setting right there. But yeah, I don't really go too crazy with a whole bunch of stuff. You'd be surprised. It's real simple. It just looks like I got a lot of stuff on the pedal board. Now, this next track, I actually did create it with the guitar synth pedal. And so let's go ahead. And I got it set for the strings, I think. Yeah, I do have it set for the strings. Let's see if I run it through the. There you go. So here we go. So that was just created with the Digitech RP 360 XP. The drum patterns was just something real simply looped in. The synth is from the Boss SY1 synth pedal. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab the acoustic guitar and do a little jamming with that, so you can kind of see it will take the acoustic guitar pretty damn good. I was really surprised. Actually, very surprised. So let's go ahead and grab that. Not a bad finish on this Gibson, huh? They call this this model is a 2013 model, Honeyburst. And it is the standard premium plus. It's got the pull pots and all that stuff. So let's grab the acoustic here and let's go ahead. I hope the volume is not too loud for anybody. When I do these live things, I basically set it right from the phone and I try to get it as close to the speaker as possible without having to go through a whole bunch of stuff that I really don't want to go through. Probably in the future, when I feel I want to grab all that stuff, I will. But as it stands right now, because I perform live, so for me, I'm in a different category than some people. Some people YouTube is their thing. And I love YouTube. YouTube is definitely my thing as well. But a lot of us are performers out in the real world, and this is the world we come from, and this is what I really love. I'll always be a live performer. Okay, I did that pick here. Let's grab this. I've been using these lately. Dunlops, I guess they're Super Grip 1.5 with a little bit more of a point. Some of these picks I can't find anymore for whatever reason. I don't understand, but hey. Okay, so what's nice with here, this particular patch on my Digitech, what I did is I cleared out the amp sims, and so I'm just using a little bit of reverb. There is a little bit of a it's a tremolo, and then the delay. But I don't really need that for right now. I'll probably dedicate another patch. I'll take the two patches I have here, because the patch next to this is my bass. So the bass patch that's in this Digitech right now, I have to really mess with the GR55 because we have that as well. The bass patch in there is strong, it's good. The bass patch in this SY synth pedal, Boston synth pedal, is good. But the bass patch that's in the Digitech RP series, the 355 and the 360, nothing out there is as low as this. And I know Robert's Guitar Dungeon was live yesterday, and he mentioned one of the representatives came in and did a demo on the SY1 pedal, and he says, yeah, he was amazing how low the octave was, and it'll run on a 9-volt battery. The Digitech won't run on any batteries. The Boss synthesizer pedal will run on a 9-volt if you're in a situation that you need that. But again, nothing, not Helix, nothing could mimic this low end sound that the engineers did at Digitech. I don't know what they did. It's when you need it, when you do live looping and you need it. Okay, now I'm gonna see how loud my synth pedal is. Okay, so here I gotta set my tone on this thing. Get a little bit more of that there. What's nice with this, what I'm doing right now, is I got my foot down, holding down on the pedal. The indicator light is flashing, and what it'll do, it acts like a freeze. It holds that that sound, so I can now solo over it. Okay, so let's go ahead and do a little live grouping here. Now here I've got a pad sound on this thing as well, and you have like 11 different tones you can get out of this. You know, if you don't want like that really weird. Again, everything's you have to experiment with everything. Like anything else, you got. Aha. A little bit of phase shifting. So there's a little trick to doing fade outs when you're strumming, and every time you try a different pick, you got to used to where the points are and everything like that. Um, so yeah, I love. It's pretty nice, you know. Now, usually it can be challenging for me to fingerpick on a steel string guitar, and I think I've mentioned this before. People probably say, "Well, I don't understand. How could it be so different?" You know, I could do a lot of your tremolos, and you there's two reasons. One is the sound of the pinging of the steel strings. You know, each style of guitar has its purpose, and that pinging sound, it's like if you grab a Stratocaster or a Telecaster, and if you play something blues oriented, or let's say country oriented, you grab a Telecaster, it's going to open up your subconscious mind there to what you think a Tele or this or what the music or country would sound like on a Telecaster. So you might gravitate more to the actual vibe of country. Where if you do the sound, let's say Randy Rhoads Jackson or a Schecter with EMGs, you're not going to get that exact same tone. So it's gonna throw you a little bit. You know what I mean? Or it'll open up your mind. When I do the classical and the flamenco style, I do it on a nylon string guitar because number one, the tone is just absolutely perfect for it. And even some of the bossa nova. It's to me, it just opens up that world more, so I could immerse myself into that style. But again, one of the main reasons is the steel strings will tear your fingernails up, and if anyone makes a living playing classical style or classical flamenco style music, you know exactly where I'm coming from. It's nice to want to show that you could do this stuff to impress your friends, but my strong advice is this: let's say you're in the same situation that I've been in, and let's say next weekend you have a very important gig you have to do. That's gonna be more on the classical guitar with that style and that way of finger picking. And so you prepared for it. It's a very important gig, and you don't want to mess it up because this is what will make you or break you. In that circuit. And then in between now and next week, when your friends comes over with their acoustic and say, "Come on, dude, go on and do that crazy stuff," and they got your steel string guitar and all that, and if you know that it could cause an issue for you playing wise, my strong advice is don't do it. Don't run the risk of trying to impress your friends by destroying your fingernails if you need to rely on this. Don't do it, because what's going to happen, your friends aren't going to be paying you the gig is going to be paying you. You have a contract with that venue or that person, and we've been in this situation many times, and I've had this conversation with my friends back in Chicago in person. I would tell them, this is why I don't do all that on a steel string or too much on the electric guitar. The reason being is I don't want to destroy my fingers or my fingernails. And some of the guys, how us guys are, we rip on each other. We could take it. We can handle it, especially for those of us who worked on a construction site, which was very interesting how I had to protect my hands in those situations. So the name, busting each other's, nuts there, that doesn't really bother me, because I know that when it's showtime, I'm the one that's getting the paycheck and they're not. So I'm the one that is the hired gun. So I have to act a professional. And that's really how you start getting a lot of work, whether it's to play classical guitar, jazz guitar, rock covers, whatever. The best thing to do is put yourself in a position that if you're going to be doing these gigs and you're going to be doing this, whether it's for a full-time job or even extra cash, think of it that it is a job. You know what I mean? It's fun. It's the funnest job you could ever have. But you do have to kind of treat it that way so that you can discipline yourself and that by those means. And so you're playing. You don't want to go off, and sound like you're unprepared. It happens to a lot of us. We get put on the spot sometimes. But you want to be as prepared as possible, the most prepared as possible, with your gear, with your health, And with, of course, the way you're dressed, that's really is gonna say a lot about you, in those type of situations, corporate gigs and very high end gigs, and also in how you respond, because these people are going to look at you like you're the professional, and if you're acting like a clown, I'm not saying joking around. That's totally different. I come on and Rockin' Dave, North Fort Myers, Southwest Florida. It's part of my channel. It's just me having fun. But when people hire me as a guitarist, and for whatever reason, and let's say it's a real important gig, and that, you better believe my A game is 100%. Deb and I, we always bring our A game on. We're prepared. We get to the venues early. We're very polite. We're very approachable, very easy to work with. We do not go in with these attitudes of, well, I'm the star and it's rock and roll, dude, and rip up, crank it up and rip the knobs off. We do not approach it like that. When it's the fun talk and it's the fun, you know what I mean? And the kid around and joking, that's totally different. But when you're negotiating, or even when you're negotiating a contract, you have to look at everything that's put on the table. The budget's always a big thing. But even though if you have to lower your price, there's a little trick to doing this, my friends. It's very, very simple. It is no different than when you're trying to sell an item or you're trying to buy an item. You negotiate. So if you're trying to sell an item, you always pump up your price so that if they bring you down, they might bring you down to a price that you originally wanted, where you would still make money. I mean, it's real simple. But when you negotiate, you do need to look at their point of view as well as your point of view, because always remember, there's two parties. Otherwise, there's no gig. You're at home, just like what I'm doing right here. Otherwise, that's just how that is. But there's negotiating secrets, and you work with the people, and you be polite. And I guarantee it'll get you real far in life, working musician, and real far in life, because you'll get known as not only being a good musician. There's a lot of good musicians out there, but you'll be known as, wow, this. I had so many club owners, especially down here, when I was, getting the gigs for Mike and myself, and they would say, and I've heard a few people tell me this. They'd say, Dave, this is why we like working with you, because you see our point of view. You're not one of these musicians, or these band leaders that come in and you with all these demands, And I would just tell them, well, I mean, this is common sense. If the cash register is not ringing, and if I'm demanding $600 and only maybe $125 came in that night, if someone put out there tell me how I could pull $600 out of $125, you're a genius. I'd jump on it in a heartbeat. You know what I mean? That's not reality. I'm missing my chats here. God, I get on this. I see the little blue arrow, and it says like it's going down. Jimmy Biter, what's happening, man? See, Watson, you probably was on like an hour ago and he left off. Sorry, Jimmy, I'm not making pot shots at you, brother. I'm just saying, I'm making pot shots on me. If I'm gonna do pot shots on anybody, I'm gonna have a big mirror, and that's the person I'm gonna take the pot shots at. You know what I mean? But like I was gonna say earlier, down here in Florida in March we have a blues and jazz fest. And it's in March, and it's in the town of Cape Coral. Cape Coral is the town just west of us, and that's where we did a lot of our live videos at Rusty's and all that. That's the town of Cape Coral. The fancy restaurant that I was always playing at, that was in Cape Coral. And so what I'm going to do is there was no fest this year. This March there was no fest, because of the virus, as we all know. But next year, I'm gonna get with the between now and next year, get with the promoters, and then say, yeah, I'd like to get involved in the Jazz Fest, even if I'm the opening act. That's fine. I don't care about that. And get the ball rolling for that style, because I do enjoy playing this style of music. And if the promoters say, well, Dave, we're all filled up, maybe next year or the year after, that's fine. I'll work with these people. Because honestly, there are good promoters out there. And if you have a good track record of being reliable, easy to work with, it goes in your favor. Now I know there are times I could almost sound a little bit of brash, if you want to call it, a little hard, but it's not me trying to be hard. It's me standing up to people that are there. You will have bad people out there, and sometimes you have to stand up to them and let them know that, hey, you know what? I'm not a desperate guitar player that's to get on my knees and beg and plead and hope and do everything for free and please, please, please. No, I'm not going to devalue myself that way. And I've a lot of times I've walked away from gigs because some of those people have been so ridiculously unreasonable. And I think what has happened, and I've done this in person in the meeting room with these people, one on one, or two on one, and always be myself. Deb has not been to any of those meetings yet, because I think if she were, she would say, "Come on, Dave, let's go." These people, she wouldn't say anything. She'd just say, "Let's go," and I know what that means. These people are worthless. You know, and there are times you have to be that way, and it's not to try to be a hard person to work with, or a badass, or a big shot, or anything like that. But there are times you have to stand your ground. You have to be firm, because in this industry, people will take you as a sucker, and you'll be nominated Chump of the Year, and they'll be laughing at you while you're begging and begging and begging. And that's one thing I cannot stand, is when people do that to good, hard-working people, and they try to make fools of us. I can't stand that, and that's why I've over the years took the chance. You know what I mean? Say, you know what? At least when the time comes that I'm too old to do this, and I'm like on my deathbed, I could look back and I could say, you know what? What I've done the things I've wanted to do. Maybe I didn't accomplish all those things, and it's not, and part of it is from my behalf. Part of it would be my lack of knowledge, or my laziness, or whatever. But a huge part of that is what I've said before on my channel about these growth chokers and opportunity killers. I've been up against those type of people, and I've sat in their office one-on-one, and I told them straight to them. And I was being polite, but I was being very firm, and I walked away from the deal, and maybe they never want to deal with me. That's fine. Always remember one thing: as a musician, we're mobile. We can go anywhere. A person that's tied to a sticks and bricks building, a brick and mortar building, or they're tied to a certain organization in a certain part of town, they're stuck there. They're tied there. But I could go to the next town over, and those people could watch me go over there and have success over there. And then as you start to build your name, people come out, they want to see you there. So then when they come over, they'll say, "Oh, I didn't know you lived in this town. When are you going to play over here? Where are you going to play over there? I don't know, go talk to the venue." And then that same person at the venue that was trying to push me out, now there's people say, "Hey, there's this guy, Dave Byron. I saw him up in Punta Gorda. You want to have him come down here?" Then they start seeing this. And again, they don't have to hire me, and I'm not going to bash them or wish them any bad. I hope the many success for people in their businesses. I really do. But it doesn't mean that I have to beg and plead and do all these things. Some of them are ridiculous that they want you to do to continue to devalue you. That's where I draw that line. But other than that, there are good people out there. Let's see. All the bar bands had Peavies and sounded good. Yeah, this is probably a little bit older comment. They did. Those old Peavies were reliable, Great Vanzini. Very reliable. God, I am so behind my chats. Oh my God. Mitch Heyman, what is happening, man? I've been checking out a couple of your videos. There's that one video that you did a cover of. I don't think I was able to finish watching. I'll have to finish watching it. I think it was from that one movie. God, sometimes when you draw a blank, I draw a blank, But the Titanic movie, that theme song, "My Heart Will Go On," that was a beautiful melody that you played, Mitch. I also want to address a situation that some people have said on the live chat. God, I apologize, my friends, being so behind in the chat. Holy crap. Ivan is now on. And since, well, I did a little bit of version of the I don't know if I put this up yet on the Cordoba. I have a Yamaha nylon string, which is this guy. Which I'll tell you what, this is a great hybrid guitar because it is 22 frets. It is the NTX 700, and the bridge on this is almost the same area that you'd see on a steel string, where traditional nylon string guitar, the bridge is a little bit back. But I do have to put a battery in. I might have to see if I take this in to get the electronics worked on. I do like these electronics. Let me show you guys what those look like. You have a master volume, which is this volume right here. You have a 3-band EQ. Then you have a volume for your treble strings and a volume for your bass strings. So this balances out real good. This is an Ibanez steel string. And this is the guitar I put the Ernie Ball Burley Slinky. So they are electric guitar strings, but they're 52 to 11. Just to see. The only reason why I did that is to see how much life I could get out of some of these strings. Because, you know, your Fazer bronze strings, they tarnish real fast. So I wanted to see what kind of longevity I get out of these. And it is a plain G string. It is an 18 gauge, whereas on the Diodario it's a 22. So the gauge on these strings here is a 52 on the E, low E. The A string is a 42. The D string is a 30 gauge. The G string is an 18 gauge plain. The B string is a 14 gauge, and the high E is an 11 gauge. But on the Cordoba, the electronics on that Cordoba is just incredible. That guitar is almost 20 years old, man. And that's the one we took over to do the show at NATO. And man, it's a great sounding guitar, man. So I'm going to do more videos where I'm running it through the guitar synth and see. Because you see, on my Breedlove, I do have the synth pickup and it works great. But you see, those pickups only work with steel strings. Now, unless I have my Cordoba custom made and put the under saddle, because I know the Golden guitars have those saddles, and I'd still have to have the 13-pin cable come out. And when that cable breaks, man, you know, you gotta order another cable. That's why I always try to have a couple of extra ones in case something happens. And it's not a MIDI cable. MIDI is 5 pins. The guitar synth is 13-pin. So. Oh, Bumble Best, what's happening? Look at this. You know what? I am so behind Dwight Bailey. What's happening, man? I apologize, my friends. Look how far back I am. Holy crap! Wow. Yeah. So, and I'm glad that I'm going to give a quick shout out to Metalhead Hippie that he continues to have everybody on and spotlights people on his channel. I know when I was doing the live gigs, I would take some of YouTubers, their originals, and then I would spotlight it right at the gig and, you know, just play them right there. And at the end, and it would always happen to me after the live stream would stop. It would always happen where I would have people come up and they would ask me, hey, that one song that you said is on YouTube, who is that guy? And I would say it's either Joe Wench or Jim Guidry. Jim Guidry's another great guitar player and YouTube friend of ours. Check out their channels, Jim Guidry, Joe Wench Project, David Stafford, R2, R3 Locking Nut, Old Man Dan, Janice Lala, everyone that's out there, Dwight Bailey. I got it. One of these days, I'm going to make one big long list and just live shout outs, man. Let's see, the synth fooled me. I thought it was a nylon string for sure. No, you know what it is? Great Vanzini. There's a little trick in EQing. So I always take my highs and try to bring them down a little bit. So I get a little bit more of a warmer sound. I think one of my next guitars I wouldn't mind getting would be a hollow body. That George Benson model is nice. But there is another model that's not expensive at all. It's only like $330. It's a full-size jazz box. It's a flat matte finish. So I think it's the 55 Hardcore 55, and just to mess around with that. But I do like the George Benson model. There's another Ibanez model that only has a neck pickup, and I thought if anyone is familiar with Jimmy Bruno, jazz guitar great Jimmy Bruno, he's another guy. Check out his channel because he's been doing a lot of live streaming. It's called Live from the Bunker, or Jimmy Bruno Live, and usually it's a trio, but he has a keyboard player playing with him, and sometimes we'll have a guest jazz vocalist. He is traditional jazz, and Jimmy Bruno is a name that has been around for a long time in the jazz circuit. So he's a very up there jazz, in the category of jazz greats, and someone who was living full-time jazz musician and done a lot of traveling, and that's in the jazz star. He's like the jazz stars, and what I would consider the jazz stars. He's traditional jazz. He's got I can't remember who makes his guitar, but I know he's got a couple of Ibanez, but the one he's been playing mostly only has the neck pickup, and on the pickguard, I think, is the volume and tone. I kind of like that setup because to me, traditional hollow body jazz guitar, you get that mellow tone, and put some flat wounds on there to really get that really nice tone, because I do enjoy that style of music. Let's see what else. Hunter, what's happening, man? I really, good seeing you. I really appreciate you guys tuning in. Yeah, did Old Man Dan pop in? He probably didn't. I was, yeah, there's Old Man Dan. Yeah, Old Man Dan, you're a great guitar player, man. Very melodic, and I hope your shoulder's getting better. And I think Jimmy Biter, he had a problem with his shoulder too, and I'll tell you what, this another thing, I'm glad that this popped in my head. There's been people that have talked about this. I can't remember who it was now. I apologize. I think it might have been either Dale Palmer or I think it was Dale Palmer had mentioned about carpal tunnel syndrome. And any guitar players out there that have any type of an injury, or you're limited to a certain amount of playability time, if you have if you're visiting your doctor and they give you all these instructions, by all means don't kill your hands for the sake of trying to impress someone on YouTube, or anything like that. See, a lot of you people are smarter than that, so I really shouldn't have to say. I'm just saying it's for people who don't know this, because you could do a lot more damage, and once you damage your hands, and let's say you have to go back to any type of a work, I'm gonna tell you something with professional driving jobs. You better not go in there where it looks like you can't do anything with your hands, because your most important things are your hands. Because if you're driving, you know what I mean. You gotta be able to make sure that you have control. Whether you're doing a commercial vehicle, whether you're doing NEMT, which is non-emergency medical transportation, or any type of a charter or any type of a school bus, you'd be surprised how much some of those school bus jobs pay. And it's funny because at first we kind of laugh at like, oh, school bus driver, what? And he said, saying, you're making that much? And I say this because there's a lot of musicians that are going to be in the hurts when things start to open up. Because down here, some of the bars had to reclose, but some of the restaurants could stay open. My point is this: anyone that's a middle age or older, or in that age frame, and if you have to go back to work and you got a good driving record, you'd be surprised how many people actually will drive either a charter bus or a school bus, or in that type of work. When the economy crashed in 2008, and we did that part-time as well, there were so many people that were CEOs that were bus drivers, and they were making money. And one thing that they all learned, and they would all say this, and because we had safety meetings, everybody would talk, and they would say, there's one thing about this line of work. First of all, people look down on it, so nobody wants to be a bus driver. So they look down on it, say, God, I'm not going to be that. I'm not going to lower myself to that. See, that's a big mistake. They say they're going to lower self to a standard that's a need where you could make money. But another thing people would say, is that, and the people doing the training, they would tell us this too. They would say, this type of work, if you take care of your driving record, you take care of your health, and you know, you don't put wacky stuff out on the internet. Don't do that. That'll kill you. That will really kill you. But if you do what you're supposed to do in life, and you relocate from Chicago to Florida, or Florida to Texas, or Tennessee, no matter where you go, you could guarantee you could get a job doing that type of work. And there have been people that were in their 70s, I would see driving, and they're making money. So never look at anything like this as being a downer. Your musical career is over. It's done. I'm gonna end it all. My whole world came to an end. No, your world's just starting. Your world's just starting. Um, I'm not gonna mention his name. He's a really good YouTube guitarist. I like him a lot. And I thought one video, this was a while back, he felt really down in the dumps. And he was at the point where his music, what am I gonna do, man? Am I just gonna quit? Am I gonna this or am I gonna that? Basically, I might have to go back to work. Am I gonna? It's not the downer. When you can make solid income and you could take care of your living expenses, and then you got this extra money, now that right there is the best time to be a musician, because now you could fund your own projects with your money, your side money. You know, you put it aside, you build up, you have a separate envelope, whatever you need to do, and put that money in there. And if you don't need your gear, and let's say you want to start doing shows again, like we had said before, we rent the places out, we do the ticket sales, we start pushing us again. You will establish yourself again. Or if you haven't done it before, you will start to establish yourself as no longer are you the cover musician if you don't want that. Now, if you want to start really getting yourself known, instead of waiting for somebody and spending their money, invest in you, because you're not only a fool is going to let themselves down, you know. And if you have a spouse, make sure in the family you know, work this out with the family and your spouse, because your spouse is your best friend. Your spouse is the one that's going to be there for you. And well, that's at least how it should be, you know. And I'm very blessed and fortunate that my spouse Deb has been in the industry before, and you know, we have our music company. And I guess if I wanted to, with, let's say, the lesson plan that I'm putting together, if I wanted to start seeing about getting in them, we are a legitimate business. You know, they can't, you know, they'll say, well, what are you trying to sell? And I could say, well, it's a lesson plan, or it's this or that. You know, I would put something together for that. Because you see, here's the trick with NAMM. NAMM is not like it once was. Back in the day, NAMM was like the big to place. I don't know if anyone out there has seen recently, Sweetwater has been doing their online Gear Fest. And with that being said, one of our YouTube friends out there went to Sweetwater Fest, and then went to Sweetwater Gear Fest, and then went to the Summer NAMM, and he said he was really disappointed in the Summer NAMM. They had more stuff at the Sweetwater Gear Fest, and I could buy the product. See, NAMM is business to business, you know, it's National Association of Music Merchants. So it's business to business. So if Deb and I wanted to say, well, you know what, we want to get involved in NAMM, we could say our thing is we have a lesson planned, and we could go to. We don't really wouldn't have to rent a booth. The last I heard, and this was a few months ago, just before the coronavirus hit. And I'm not going to mention the name because I don't want to get her in trouble, but she is, her and her husband is very well known in the music industry. And she said it's like $6,000 to rent out a 10 by 10 space. And then you have to pay for a mat. It's 10 by 10 now. $6,000. She said it's almost like a scam, you know? And now with people buying online, you really don't need, it's, I don't want to see NAMM go away. I'm not saying it's not a viable, um, thing to have, because it is, for businesses, business in the music in the business industry, but people sell their stuff online, and people now they're shopping online. They don't need retail anymore, and this is what's happening. Hopefully, NAM starts waking up and starts to restructure their way of thinking, where they could let people in, sell a ticket, let the public in. So what, they can't buy it, at least they could get in, because this whole idea that you have to be in with a certain click club. Now, unless you got some people that are just flat out rude and disrespectful, and they want to touch everything and destroy everything. No, I mean, come on, that's idiotic. I mean, you police it. This is real simple. You police it, but to purposely just exclude people and only let certain friends that are part of the click club, that's idiotic too. Because don't need it. You know. And if I'm not in the market to buy anything, I'm sure the hell not gonna, try to get in there. What for? Unless I want to, now sell my product. Um, but I would, if Deb and I were to talk about this and say, look, why don't we take this lesson program and gear it to sell it through Sweetwater, then I would definitely, that would be like maybe the number one place I would go to is Sweetwater. And it's going to take a little time because I'm still working out some of the kinks in my manuscript, and then we're going to get a copy written. And the reason being, I'm not going to copyright a C major scale, A minor. That's stupid. You can't do that. But what I have to do is copyright the method how I'm writing out this lesson plan, and the people who have taken lessons from me in the past and who have seen how I write things out, they've all said it was a great idea. They all said they've never seen anything like that, and they thought it was a really good idea on the educational side, and yet they could still understand it. So that's what I have to get, when I'm done with this, get it proofwritten and talk with our attorney and just get a copy written where no one could steal it from me. If they want to lease it from me, that's fine. So we'll sit down and talk. What are all our options so that we know we can always make money off of it, and we're not going to sell it for a ridiculous amount of money. I mean, some of these people, that's up to them. I'm not going to say anything bad. I'm not going to knock anybody. That's up to them. But this lesson program is going to be where it's going to resolve a lot of confusion out there. And the theory side of it is going to be from a side that I understand, that a lot of people will be able to understand, and it is still theory. And then people could do what they want with it. But basically, in a nutshell, it's coming from the point of view of a performer's point of view, where we have to get in and get out. We have to get the job done. We cannot sit and waste so much time over analyzing two chords to figure out why is it this and why is it that. It's in and out, get the job done, and you'll be able to understand it. Because if you think about it, if there's any people that does any electricity out there, the reason why I'm bringing this up is that when I was in trade school for HVAC, when I had to take an electrical program, it was known as Ohm's law and Watt's law, not Ohm's theory and Watt's theory, although it basically was theoretical, but it was more based in fact as opposed to theory. Whereas music is theory, okay? And theory, when you just look it up, it's just points of view, you know what I mean? And I'm not knocking it. So for people who understand it, good for you, that's great. This is coming from another point of view. And the reason why I bring this up is because I just mentioned about NAM. So if we wanted to have a product to get in over to NAM or into like Sweetwater or anything like that, it would be a program that when people look at it, they're going to say, where has this been? I could understand it. You know what I mean? And it's not to talk down to anybody. It's to help people who don't have the time. Maybe they got a full-time job. Maybe they got a family. Maybe they're also
teachers in another field. So they do not have that time and luxury of cluttering up their thought process with something that almost is deemed as confusing. And unfortunately, that is what a lot of music theory is looked at from a lot of guitarists. It looks like it's confusing. I mean, I guarantee anyone that's sitting in this chat right now, if you were to ask each other, do you understand music theory 100%? Do you understand this? Or if you ask them, hey, does music theory seem to be confusing to you? Chances are you're going to get almost everyone in the chat say, yeah, I could understand it a little bit, but a lot of it seems confusing to me. And that's what I'm trying to just break through that confusing factor and just say, you know what, here's another way of looking at it. And here it is, cut and dry, simple. And just take your time with it. Don't overload your mind. I did 2 years of theory in college. Now see dog pond and dog pond. Did you understand it? And I hope you do. And I hope that it was presented to you in a way that made sense to you, so that when you did put the time to think about it, then you start to get it. You know, I don't want to sound like I'm knocking it, because anything where you have to spend a little time thinking about something, it is good. It's very healthy. But when it becomes so over the top, where it's confusing, and this instruction says this, but this instructor says that, so who do I believe? This person's got 50% off, that person's got 25% off, and what do I do? Who do I listen to? Who do I believe? You see, that's what I don't like. And maybe it's just me, but anyways. Yeah, I don't properly apply it to guitar until later. Mistake. Yeah, knowing what I know now, yeah. We always do that, looking back and say, gee, I wish I would have known that. You know, if I knew back then what I know now. Yeah, my music professor at Jerry always said, believe in your ears first. Ian, that's 100% right there. Right there. Music is you listen to it. Yeah, you could read it. Yeah, I mean, you can. And there's a lot of people, do you know what? There's a lot of people that they understand all these formulas and the modes and what mode is this and what mode is that. They understand all that, but they don't understand how to read music. And I'm not saying you got to be a fast sight reader or anything. If I were to say, where's middle C on the staff, do you know how many people had done this? You know where this C note is? This is middle C on the piano. But it's not middle C on the staff. That really separates treble clef from bass clef, or more in depth, treble clef into the alto clef, and then the alto clef has a movable C, and then into the bass clef. That's not your middle C on the staff. That's your middle C on the staff. And if you ask a person, where is it? That is the lower note underneath the staff that has the ledger line. That ledger line goes right through that note. That's your middle C on the staff. Do you know how many people don't understand that? Let's see. I'm seeing. Got to do electronic school, music school, and recording school. I played violin in grade school, orchestra. Forgot how to sight read music 3 times. Yeah. Got to do electronic school. Yeah. So you see what I mean? I'm not knocking education. Education is great. But when so much money is spent on something and you graduate, and if you're not fortunate enough to get a grant or a scholarship or whatever, and you have to take a loan, man, it's very, very tough when a person goes to a music college and they got to get a job, working retail somewhere. Now, I'm not saying any type of job is good when you're making money, but see, now you got to pay a student loan back that has nothing to do with your job, the money that you're making. So that's why, to me, trade school is the way to go. That's just me. Let's see. Yeah, I'm a visual learner, so sometimes I see something on theory, bang my foot. Yeah, but you just see whatever works for everybody out there. That is what you do. That's gonna help you out. You know what I mean? So that's what you always do. That's what I would always tell people: learn from as many people as you possibly can, and the method that works for you, that's the method that you stick to. Because at the end of the day, it really is your money, it's your time, and it's really what works for you. You know what I mean? And if a person, doesn't buy any of my product, or let's say when I get to something going, that's fine. You can still be friends. See, my whole point is I'm not trying to shove my stuff down people's throats or anything. It's whatever person learns, how they learn, where they learn from, what works for them. That's great. You know what I mean? Let's see. Yes, I do. I far too familiar with that, but I've taught students who could play without knowledge at all, and they always improve when they start to get the. Yeah, that's true, Ian. That is very, very true. Yeah, you see, there's always a catch-22. There's always two sides of the coin, and an honest person is going to look at both those sides. And if one side is working stronger for you than the other, then you do that until you could understand that other side. When you could understand that other side, then it's yet another light bulb that goes on. It's more knowledge that you're able to gain, and it's more of a tool that you could use in your arsenal. You know, a lot of us are in this for the long haul, meaning we're lifetime musicians, and so what we don't know now, and let's say we don't get in a couple of months, but let's say next year or year after that we gain it, that knowledge, that understanding, that's still great because we're not planning on quitting tomorrow. So you know what I mean? And time will go by whether you practice and study or don't practice and study. Time is going to go by. That nothing's stopping that. Yeah, yeah. People are not created equal. Those that understand their gifts and how to take advantage of them succeed. Exactly. You see? Exactly. So this is what I mean. And all of this knowledge, when you put into the big melting pot, it works together. I only say these things because I have played with people that have been so gung ho on music theory, and they would almost look down at me because I didn't understand their terminologies. I guess that's what it really comes down to. What is your terminology? All these modes, they got these fancy names. Why do they have their fancy names? Because if you go way back in time, and if it's part of the Greek language, that was how they counted from number 1 to number 7. Just and maybe for 7 the number, and then the musical, the scale, this scale, number 1 scale, or number 1 mode, or you know what I mean. Just like if you count from number 1 to number 7 in Spanish, it's not going to be 1 2 3 4 5 6 7. It's going to have that Spanish language. And I think what happens is so many times people forget that it's just a different language. They get so hung up on this terminology that they actually forget about the simplicity of understanding what it is supposed to tell you, what it's supposed to mean. And once you could read through things and see it in a very simplistic point of view, the light bulb goes on, and okay, maybe you're not using the exact same terminology, but I guarantee, as so many times in the rehearsal rooms where I had to let them know that I don't understand theory in that respect, but I know exactly where all my notes are laid out. And if you tell me a certain chord, and if I just happen to forgot the name of the chord, I could easily ask anyone saying, well, what is your notes you're playing, low pitch to high, in that order? And instantly I could find them anywhere on the fretboard. And then it would always work with like keyboard players, most keyboard players they didn't really care. They're like, yeah, he's got it. Let's go. Let's move on. We're wasting time here. But there's been a few that have been they've been wasting valuable rehearsal time trying to educate me on a certain thing. And I appreciate what they're doing, but they're doing it at the wrong time. when you're in the rehearsal room to rehearse for a show that's happening that Friday, you need to make sure that all your changes are smooth, that you come in and out of these transitions, and whatever communication gap you might have right there, if you could come to a medium point where, okay, I understand what you're talking about, and I kind of understand what you're talking about. Let's make sure that when we perform this piece, we are on the same page and it sounds smooth, because the listener is going to listen to the music. They don't care what you're going to say, and that was always the issues I would have with some of these people. They were trying to play college professor at a point where we're renting a rehearsal room and we've only had X amount of time and we needed to get the job done. That's like when I was doing HVAC, in the middle of winter time, I go to work on someone's furnace. It's minus 20 degrees out there and they're freezing, and I need to fix the furnace. They do not need to know if I understand Ohm's law and Watt's law. As long as I know what I'm doing, I don't burn the house down, cause an electrical fire, but I could get in, get the job done. They're nice and comfortable. Okay, I could bill you later, out the door, call me if you need me. That's all they care about. You see, it's the same concept. It happens to be a different field. That's all. And if you take the same simplicity and common sense and you apply it to the music theory aspect of it, you'd be surprised how much more you could get done, because you're not going to be in the great debate. Now, when it comes to the learning room and where you have to apply understanding, there's no shows that you're rehearsing for. You don't need to. Now we're going to sit there and let's understand this thing about theory. Now that's the time where you could really dig deep into that and, just jump into those waters and say, okay, let's see if we can understand this. But when you're rehearsing for a show and time gets wasted, that's not the time. And I've been in that situation so many times. And because I'm not college educated, I could tell when I'm being looked down upon, and that's fine. But if they're really that smart, they would understand that, hey, next Friday's the gig. When we go and it's showtime, you're doing a lot of this and you're not doing a whole lot of playing. And when the showtime, we're on that stage and we're playing, and if you're clinking and clunking and you got the master's degree, that's going to be embarrassing. That's going to be very embarrassing that the uneducated college, that's not even college educated, can get the job done and the college professor can't. That's extremely embarrassing. And that's what I mean when people go off on those. But again, I try to respect everybody, But that's what I mean. Do things that's easy for you to understand. And when it comes to learning, if a person could understand all that, absolutely support them, go for it, 100%. Didn't mean to go on a tangent there. Well, yeah, true. You can lead a horse to the water, but you can't make him drink it. You got that right, Ian. I might have missed something here. I live, yeah, but I'm so dang confused right now. I read about music theory and try to learn it. Then, miraculously, the book burned itself before I saw it again. Yeah, see, that's what I mean. I think what it is, guys and gals out there, I think what it is, it's we get stuck on these terminologies. And I think if we were to sit down and ask whoever's teaching these programs, say, look, I don't understand what you mean by Dorian. What's Dorian? Oh, Dorian is counting, that's number 2 in the old Greek language. So now we're talking about the second degree. So in other words, if I take C major, C is my first note. I think they call that Ionian. The second note is D. They call that Dorian. But if I was Greek, and especially way back in ancient Greek in those times, I would not say 1, 2. I would say Ionian. I would say Dorian. I'm counting. That's all I'm doing. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I'm not going to my octave. So in other words, if you say a Dorian mode, you're taking the C major scale. You're still playing the C major scale. But instead of starting with C and going to C, you're starting with D. and you're going up to D, but you're still playing a C major scale. That's all it is. So, and then I think within those scales you have different chording and that, which obviously you do. Um, but I think what happens is there's not someone at the desk to say, hey, is there anybody out there that even if a person says, oh, that's my pinky, that's finger number 4. I think what has happened in society, a lot of people are just flat out embarrassed to say, I don't understand. They maybe feel like they're going to get laughed at or something. And what happens is over a course of time, that question gets so buried in the mix that was the most important question that needed to be asked, but it got neglected for a fear of being made fun of or laughed at. It's like in classical guitar. The reason why, and I think this is Italian for the digits, when people do, medical term. Your thumb in classical guitar is P. Your index finger is I. Your middle finger is M. Your ring finger is A. And then your pinky is C. But the reason why it's those letters is because it's a different language describing the thumb, the index finger, the middle finger, the ring finger, and the pinky. So when you're playing, classical. If anyone has ever looked at any type of classical guitar music, and they're talking about tremolos, which is this. We'll just do D minor. What's written out is P is playing these notes. So it'll be written out, P strikes the open D. What is playing this F note, what is written over that F is A, M, I. Because what it is, that's what it is, you'll see it. And then it'll be thumb or P will be hitting the A, and then P will be A note, and then P will be hitting the D note, and then it's still AMI. So it's P AMI, P AMI, P AMI, back up to the A, P M AMI, and back up to open D, P AMI. So this is what you get. So again, I hope I'm not confusing people on a tangent, but I'm trying to explain something. Why we need to understand what are these trades, and I think, okay, almost lost. We're down. It's rainy season down here in Southwest Florida, and sometimes we lose the signal. So I apologize about that, guys. But never be embarrassed to ask even the most simplest question. And if any instructor, and I mean any instructor, I would never do this because I'm in that category of where I'm trying to understand things. But to me, let's see. And then they use Italian for a music manuscript. Yeah. Just to mix things up. Yeah, I know you see, you got to understand first and foremost, where does all this come from? You know what I mean? It was not invented here in America because we're going back centuries. I mean, centuries, So that's where it's coming from. So that is brought over here and it's applied over here, and that was the math. Here's something to, and only the one teacher at Apollo Music, the guy, Tom, who was the trumpet teacher, he understood this. Do you know over here in America, it's do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do? But do you know over in Europe, it's do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, si, do? And my nephew-in-law, at the time, he was 10 years old, and he was taking classical guitar lessons over in Belgium, because they were living over in Belgium. And when he came over and visited over here in America, and we write stuff down, he was very, very, very fascinating to talk to, because he would share these things that you don't learn unless you actually live over there and actually go to those places over there. So he would tell me, no, Dave, over back home, we don't say do re mi fa sol la ti do. We say do re mi fa sol la si do, because that's exactly where it started. When it got transferred over here, I think that's when they changed it a little bit. So you see what I mean? But my point I'm making is that's where all this comes from. So naturally, there is a little bit of a misunderstanding on this whole concept of things. So it's never be embarrassed to ask a question. And if any instructor, if any teacher would ever tell a student, what, you don't understand, are you stupid or something? Now, I'm not saying when a person's acting up, that, and this is an old school, we used to go through this, the teacher would whack us when we were acting out of line, because that was our fault, that we were acting out of line. But when you're being honest and you ask any teacher, any instructor a question, and if they snap at you like that, or you don't understand, or everyone else understands, or maybe there's something wrong with you, when they snap like that, I would question their credibility as a teacher. Now everyone gets frustrated, so I could be wrong, and if I'm proven wrong, I will apologize. I have no problem apologizing publicly. But my point is, anyone that doesn't understand something and they are being honest and they're asking someone to teach them, and that person who claims to be the teacher snaps like that, people do what they want. But I that's when you start losing respect. That instructor should say, hey, I'm sorry I had a bad day, or yeah, let's look at this. Or a lot of times I didn't understand something, and I'm not afraid to say I don't understand something. I'm not a know-it-all. I just know the things I know. And then let's look at it together. You know how many times when I was teaching, I would have students that would have band in school, and I would actually learn something from those students. That's the great thing about teaching. Your mind opens up. So maybe they did not have the ability to play something, but they had the knowledge. Well, I had the ability to play, but I wasn't too sure about a certain thing, and they knew. I remember going to one of the high schools, actually going to the high school to talk to the band director, because one of my students, he was fascinated by this. He thought this was so cool. He said, yeah, I could use that in a metal song, and a lot of metal does you borrow from classical. So the school had this brilliant idea of calling it the School of Rock, okay? And I had several students tell me how disappointed they were that they called it the School of Rock, because one of my students worked in the print shop, and he started printing up these ads saying, hey, it's called the School of Rock. We got it on Tuesdays in the afternoon, and we're going to learn this, and we're going to learn that, and it's going to be great. The band director said, no, don't print that. You're not going to learn anything. It's just a big jam session. Do you know what his response was? His response was, well, if I want a big jam session, I could go to Guitar Center and plug in, and everybody's in their own little world doing whatever they want. No structure. No structure. So one of my students, I said, well, maybe I'll go in. During band, after, they had their band assembly, and I'll go in and talk to the teacher. Well, he tells me, like a week before the concert and before I went to talk to the teacher, he said he presented the idea to the teacher, and the teacher said, no, that's not going to work. And I said, well, why don't you ask even for extra credit? Because her excuse was she does not understand the layout of the guitar. She plays clarinet, she plays jazz, clarinet, and she's phenomenal at her instrument. But right away, she shoots down a student who was a good student, who could have brought that school on the map to something really special. And this is when the height of the Guitar Heroes game was getting very, very popular. So he says he couldn't believe the negativity coming from this teacher. And I'm like, wow. I said, well, I don't want you to get in trouble. I said, I'll tell you what, I'll go and I'll talk with her. And at the time, we were still very much involved with Guitar Foundation of America, just as a member. So I figured, well, this is good leverage because what they have is extremely educational. So let's go to the school. And after the concert, I went and I talked with her in her office. And I gave her all my credentials and I said, here's the program from Guitar Foundation of America. And it's something that is, I think, would really work. I said, because if you look at it, the guitar is the cheapest instrument. If anyone that took band in school, you know the violin to rent is expensive, then you gotta get the bow, or the saxophone, or the clarinet, or the trumpet. Everything's expensive. The guitar is the cheapest instrument. So doesn't it make sense if you're going to save a music program and if you have a strong interest in this, why not capitalize on it? That could help your school bring in extra revenue. I mean, everything's a win-win. And I was sitting here talking with this lady. And again, because I have no college degree, and I understand, but to me that's a piss-ass sorry excuse not to go in and say, hey, you know, this long-haired dude's got a good point, and talk to the principal and let's get a meeting. Because even the parents, the kids I was teaching, even the parents were saying, this would be a great idea. We would support this. We would pay money to see this. We would help our kids get involved in something. You could have a guitar ensemble, and there's been guitar ensembles like Guitar Orchestra, where there's like 70 guitars playing all these different parts. It exists. It's out there. Just because you don't see it all the time on YouTube or in the mass media or mainstream does not mean it doesn't exist. But you see, this is what I mean. When you got to go up against these people that are so stubborn, so bullheaded, it'd be different if the lady said to me, Dave, that's a great idea. We're going to do everything we can. You don't have to give me the credit. Give the students, to give them that extra credit. Because what it does, it makes a student, it gives them something to look forward for. Then what happens when a student's got something to look forward for, they do something like they apply themselves. Not only when they apply themselves, they learn about leadership. They learn about how to understand things, how to teach, how to organize. Basically, they learn leadership. And that's so much more productive in today's society. Rather, this is what her response was. As opposed to saying that's a great idea, this is what she says. No, that'll never work. I'll have to talk to the principal, and it's gonna take years to get this up. Yeah, no one's gonna want that rock and roll stuff. And I told her, I'm not talking about rock and roll. I said, here's the credentials. It's a classical guitar. Well, no one wants to play classical guitar. Well, how about a jazz? Well, I'm in charge of jazz, but no one wants to play jazz guitar. Are you kidding me? If nobody wants to play the guitar, then you tell me how many guitar centers there are as opposed to saxophone centers or violin centers. You know what I mean? And I am not knocking those instruments at all. But my point I'm making, and I was trying to make to this numbnuts, is that she has something that could help the school just like flourish, just grow, and have their concerts. Mom and dad, they're gonna come and they're gonna sell it for $2 a ticket. How cheap is that? But if you got an auditorium that could seat 1,000 people, and your tickets are $2 a pop, I don't know, and you pack the place, you get 1,000 people in at $2 a pop. Last time I did the math, that's $2,000. You mean to tell me that school could not use an extra $2,000, and you could do it if you want to do it annually or twice a year, twice in the school season? So if you do it twice in the school season, and one concert you make $2,000, another concert you make another $2,000. 2 plus 2 is 4. Is it like I gotta draw stick figures? And I was being very polite, showing all the credentials, telling these are the people you could contact. Nope. So you understand, these are the type of people I've always had to like man, go up against like this. They got to the point where it says, okay, let them drown in their stupidity. I'm moving forward. My students want to move forward, and then they go, and then whatever else they want to learn in life. I would always tell my students when I was teaching, if you don't want to go to a college, if you think that's not for you, check out the trades. Learn how to do something other than music. And you could be extremely productive. You could make a crap load of money. You could not only have a really good lifestyle, but you could have a good lifestyle, and you could open up your own music company. You could support your own music, and you'll never have to worry about some of these people that want to lead you astray. And that's why I say the things that I say, because that's where I've been. And I would always try to do these things to help people out, not to talk down to them, not to make them feel like they're not significant or they have no importance. But to help them out, there is another way, you know. And there's a lot of people that would disagree with that. Fine, you know. But when they try to tell me and Deb, no, no, you can't do this. You can't play instrumental music. You can't play originals. You gotta play covers. You gotta sing. You gotta do this again. Then how come we were able to live off our music doing the exact opposite with those people telling us what we had to do? And then when I asked the question, asked them to answer that question, they were like, they couldn't, because they knew what I was telling them, they were wrong and they didn't want to admit it, you know? And I think that's what happens. Some people have a problem with admitting they make mistakes. We're all human. I make mistakes. I'm not perfect. But again, never be ashamed of asking a question. If it's someone doesn't understand it, you find someone that does, and if they could explain it in a way that you understand, that's all that really matters. As long as you could understand and you get it, where when you go to sleep at night, man, the light bulb's on, and you know what? You could see it very clearly. There's no confusion. To me, a genius is someone that could explain something that a little kid can understand. That's a genius. When I hear these people say, "Well, you don't understand, Dave," you know, they're babbling on because they're a genius. And I would say this to one guy told me this. That's a genius. I don't understand what the hell the guy is even saying. Does he even understand what he's saying? Oh, you don't understand, Dave. He's a genius. He's a genius. Oh, no, he sounds like he's badly confused. But you do, believe what you want. I would tell him. Anyways, my friends, I didn't mean to babble on about that. I gotta start watching my time here, because I don't want to, mess up people's times out there. I really want to be respectful of your time out there. But I really appreciate everyone tuning in. You guys totally rock, man. You guys, again, support each other as much as you can. When people don't get on my channel, I just want to be real honest about this. I understand, because look how many people are on YouTube. And look, there's only 24 hours a day, and you got other things you got to do. You are always welcome here on this channel. Never have to apologize if you haven't been on for a while. No, you're always welcome. I live in a real world, and I see things as they really are, So I just want people to rest assured that, hey, you're always welcome here. Okay, my friends, thank you so much for tuning in. I really appreciate this. I don't know if I'll go live next week, but I got a special video coming up, because I think this video that goes up is number 665. My next video that goes up is going to be number 666, and it'll be a short video, but it'll be like my thoughts on all that. But again, everyone, you do what works for you. Anyways, my friends, you guys totally rock. I really appreciate your support. Until next time, my friends, you stay safe, you stay true, rock on, and God bless you. Take care, my friends.